Welcome to the Watchdog Wire's weekly report on Saturday, October 4th. It's the third time I've done it on this versus the Clermont Sun. So I'm trying to get a little finer tuned in terms of what to cover and what to focus on. What I'm going to do is here's what I'm going to talk about today. I have 6 things that I'm going to talk about that are from the reporting that I did in the last week, largely. So we're going to cover each of those 6 things very quickly. Then I'll have the Clermont Sun Disgrace of the Week article and talk about some of the things for next week. So let's get going. It's Saturday, October 4th at 9 a.m. I'm going to try to get these things to just be a half hour, be in and out. Okay. So let's start with one of the things I did in the last week is the baby box test. So what I did is in Union Township, Clermont County, we have a baby box. I'm against baby boxes. But Safe Haven, which predates baby boxes by decades, is where a woman or man can take a newborn baby and turn them in at a fire station, police station, hospital, or to a uniformed officer on the streets. So I went to 3 locations in the last week. I went to in Union Township. I went to let me get it over here. All right. So I went to in Union Township, the police station, a fire station, and then I went to the sheriff's office. And so what I did is I tested that they have the right procedures at those locations. So you can watch that video, and I'm going to put the video in the link. So I'll put that in the link in the description for this rundown, so you can go watch the whole thing. But the short story is that the Union Township Fire Department had the paperwork. There's some paperwork, state mandated paperwork that they're supposed to have, but they had outdated version. The Union Township Police Station didn't have the paperwork, and the sheriff's office didn't have the paperwork. In addition, I feel like there was almost no procedure where they had thought through what they would do if somebody actually knocked on the door and did this. So, for example, bring them inside, tell them about A, B, C, D. One of the things, for example, that I bring up that any woman or man surrendering a baby should be told about is that within 30 days, if you change your mind, you can come back. Because a lot of people change their mind. They, in a moment of panic, do something like this and then realize that was a mistake, or maybe, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, find out and tell them, no, it's our grandchild or what have you, our relative, and we're not for them going down that path. By the way, if you're a woman and with an unplanned pregnancy, the key thing before you ever get to this is get proper prenatal care, have a proper medical delivery, and truly understand your options. Where the best option typically is if you're not, the best option is to become a great mom or a great dad, or both. But another option is to open adoption. That's much better than safe haven or closed adoption. Open adoption is where you still stay in the life of your child. And it's been so, I don't want to go too deep on it, but people who are adopted have much higher degrees of mental health issues. And part of that is especially has been over time the result of closed adoption and things like safe haven where there's no connection. Safe haven has no record of the connection. Even closed adoption, there's a record. And most of the time, adopted people, when they reach adulthood, they want to reconnect in some way. And so safe haven is the kind of the worst of the options is abortion or abandonment. But on the safe haven is a bad option because it basically forestalls any future reunification at another time. Okay, so that's the first thing that I would encourage you to go watch those videos. That has a tremendous amount of views. I see people tagging Safe Haven Baby Box in that. And Safe Haven Baby Box is what I think of as the goal organization that monetizes this all and puts these boxes. There's a little blurb on the box in Union Township. I tell people to notice that the goal woman, Monica Kelsey, that runs Safe Haven Baby Box, refuses to allow there to be phone numbers, for example, of resources locally with her signage on these fire stations so that people could reach out. For example, there's a state number called Help Me Grow to help women both And by the way, if you're a woman, man, there are material assistance options for helping you be on your feet to become a great mom or a great dad. There's no greater reason than to get your act together than being a mom and a dad and helping another human being. Whatever happened in your life, I'm telling you, even if it's horrible things, is helping another human being reach their potential is the highest calling for any human. So, all right. So the second thing is I want to talk about the CPR team. So the CPR team is Chumley, Pat, and Rudy running for West Clermont School District Board as a team, and they're this district has become a sudden mess. They lost their vote for more money at the ballot box by 83% to 17%. Think about that, 83% to 17%. I always recast because it's actually Bill Thomas who told me that that means even the liberals voted against this. So, the district has always been a mess as long as I've lived in Union Township, which is since 1996, I think. And it's always been a mess. Can't get financial things passed. It had like a bright light when Ken Geis helped them to get a new high school and get all the other schools remodeled. And then they actually got a financial measure passed in 2020. But the CPR team of Chumley, Patton, and Rudy, and the other board members, which are kind of a joke, Spencer and um, um, her name popped out of my head. It'll come back to me. There's on the board. There's 5 members on the board. 3 are up for election. So what came to light? What has come to light is that there is that one of the members of this dream team of uh, the CPR team is Jim Rudy, and it appears that Jim Rudy has some significant mental illness and is some sort of hoarder who can't keep his own life in order. So I did 2 reports on this that you can go watch. One of them is the first one is when I go to his actual current apartment and try to talk to him. And the building just reeks that he's in. I don't know if it's him causing this apartment building that he lives in to smell, but the stench when you go into the place is terrible. And you can see the disheveled nature of things behind when peeking through the door when he opens the door. The other thing that I did was I found out that there are a bunch of other issues involving Mr. Rudy, and so so I'm going to pop it up here. So then I went to his old address because I had heard that there were all these issues with health code violations. And I believe that's at this old address. And there's a lot of them. There's a stack. You can see the stack in my hand there of health code violations. And literally, this guy was such a hoarder or have so much issue that he had pets die in his condo and could not find the rotting carcasses. The health board was actually in other adjacent condos, and the stench was so bad it was coming through the walls. There apparently was a hole in the roof that for years let water just pour in whenever it rained. And what floors me, you get comments like, "Oh, it's mental health." Okay, yeah, it is mental health. Okay, and it's extremely relevant. If you have a board member at a school system who has their pets under their care die and they can't find the rotting carcasses, this person should not be on any school board, frankly, in any public office type thing at all. It is absolutely ridiculous. Yet I guess you got some people think, oh yeah, we should have. Well, you could make the case that a lot of our elected officials are mentally ill, but just normally. But this is scary. I like somebody made a comment of this isn't just about him. This is about endangering pets. It's just bizarre. Like there's one of the things in the reports was that for years he lived in this condo, I guess, and had 2 pet dogs, and the person never saw the dogs because he just let the dogs do their business inside. It's crazy. But what's crazier is that you have these people, Chumley and Michael Chumley and Ryan Patton are running as a team. And I'll tell you what, this tells you how fucked up politics is. So I'm sure Rudy is a reliable vote for whatever, a reliable vote. And the way the political system works, even somebody who absolutely should not be in any office like this whatsoever, they'll keep propping him up because they are like Joe Biden, prop him up because he's reliable to do the things that we want done, which appears to be driving the freaking district into the ground. So that is the Jim Rudy coverage that I did. There could be more. I also did a story on Ryan Patton that I'm going to pop up here. So Ryan, who's also and my thing's not cooperating here. Ryan Patton, who's also running, is there we go. Is he had an issue in 2022 at Clermont Northeastern Middle School where he was a school resource officer. I don't know if he still is. Didn't write up a kid who had a hit list of people he was going to kill. So it's crazy shit. The people that are there's these school board things are really important because they're shaping kids, and all of us need to take more of an interest. I'll even say I'm guilty. I feel like I pay attention to some of this. I go to the meetings, I surface these issues, but it's scary that the kind of lame-brained people. By the way, Chumley, the third guy, he lost his position on the board because he couldn't do his petitions right. And then when the one board member died, there was a board member that passed away. Then they reappointed him. So it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy. And regardless of elections, Jim Rudy should be out of office now, immediately. It's absolutely absurd that you would have him in office in anything that involves kids in any way, in any capacity. It is just crazy. And I want to say one last thing, I'm going to move on, is this is absolutely a cover-up. There is no way, if it's a cover-up or the people are moronics. The people are morons. So Chumley and Patton have to know this. The school system has to know that this guy has these issues. So it is just absolutely disgusting. It is disgusting. And it's just so sad to see this West Clermont district just put itself right back in the toilet with absolutely insane. All right. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is Batavia Village. So I did a video, I think last week, on a vision for Batavia Village. And I don't know, all these people yelping about Batavia Village, they don't have any vision. Their vision is just, I believe a lot of them are part of a, there is always a conscious thing, and it's at the highest levels, like the Linda Fraley type people, to prevent places like Batavia from getting successful. And they are Tanya Harding type things. You got to kneecap success. And so I've challenged people involved with this to talk to me about what is actually their vision for Batavia Village. See, I think downtown Batavia Village, I've always wondered how you have this beautiful boulevard, but there's nothing to do there. It's empty. It's I always describe it as a North Korean village with a bunch of fake storefronts. So I have challenged again and again these guys, the two of the big talkers that, by the way, don't live in the village. So it's always funny that I don't live in the village. There's two big talkers that don't live in the village. One of them is Joe Pat Fisher, and another one is William Albright. And so I keep bringing up, and they run, it's fine. They run from that to, I keep telling them, because they criticize me. I say, hey, let me interview you just on Batavia Village Vision. And then you guys can interview me on whatever you want. So all the things that you claim are conspiracy things about me or how I'm evil, you can ask me any question you want. But I mailed them. I keep, They don't respond. Why not? Why do you think they don't respond? Same reason why the school superintendent won't do an interview with me. Brunner won't do an interview with me because they are full of shit. The school system has I think, passed on taking on $45 million. So they have, and two projects, they've passed up $45 million while they say it's for the kids. It is not the kids. It's Batavia Township politics. It is Batavia Township politics. That airport thing, it's because it's in the vicinity of where the Blue Bloods on Clough Pike live. And they don't want dirty scum pieces of shit people that would dare to live in houses that are like 400,000. These are dirty people. We don't want them around us. And that's what's really driving a lot of us. And these people like Albright and Joe Pat Fisher, they may be useful idiots. But hey, what the hell? Why don't you guys talk to me? Why are you afraid to talk to me about this? All right, so let's go back to and hit on the next thing. One thing I want to hit on, by the way, associated with this is where I'm going to actually play the video so you can hear it. And it's at the Charlie Kirk thing. And it shows, I got to get it positioned here. I'm going to pop it up. I got to turn the audio on for it. It shows, it is, let me make it full screen here. So what it is, let me put the video on.
Hey, did you follow him for a long, oh, sorry, go ahead.
We just wanted to pay our respects.
People. By the way, this William Albright guy is a loon as far as I could tell. Like, he goes around and scares people. His MO is to be scary to people. And I don't get that. That's not I want to challenge people. You never have to worry about me. I just want people to talk and dialogue and discuss. But Albright, he has a scary truck. He menaces people in the streets. Da 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 da. Well, so I was doing interviews with people on the street at the Charlie Kirk event about free speech. And
we ran out of them. A lot of his quotes, I had top 10 quotes in my view of his. A lot of them had the word truth in them. Mm-hmm. A lot of them had the word truth in them. So he was a truth teller.
Yeah, my favorite is a fraud, man. Right there's a fraud. Right there. My favorite is biblical truth.
Okay.
So that's what this guy does. He's just like a mental case that goes around and basically tries to bully and intimidate people in the streets. And hey, let's have it, William Albright. Can you sit down? Not bullying, not calling people frauds, not challenging business owners, being an A. Sit down and do an interview. Okay, show that you're more than just a scary guy with a truck bullying and intimidating people. It's that kind of behavior just has no place. It has no place. And Joe Pat Fisher is the other one. Joe Pat Fisher, he hasn't commented a long time on my Facebook page, but I believe he hides behind a profile of a Facebook thing. Come on out, get off the keyboard. Let's do it. Let's do an interview. Let's talk. So that's the Batavia Village stuff. So let's go back. The next thing, I got two more main things I want to cover. And the next one is on the whole situation with Tony Brothers and Courtney Walls and allegations of inappropriate contact or content of a sexual nature with women on the Milford wrestling team. So I did a long form interview with Courtney Walls, like an hour and 40 minutes. And Tony Brothers and I are going to do an interview. I got to get it nailed down. He texted me. I'm trying to get the date nailed down. He has texted me asking me what dates are good for me next week. So we'll do an interview. So Tony Brothers is the one the allegations are against, and he has never been arrested. There was a police thing. You can debate whether the police did a good job or not, but he has offered to do an interview on these matters, and I look forward to that. I think it'll be a great thing to watch. So that's the Tony Brothers upcoming interview. All right. So then the next thing that I want to hit on is Officer Bobb. So Officer Bobb, Milford Exempted Village School District. If I was a parent, I would, and especially of a female, I would be nervous about them at this school because of the fact they just have these recurring things come up of a sexual nature involving students, the ones I'm aware of, female students, and people in position, men in positions of authority. And one of them is Officer Bobb, the school resource officer at Milford High School. So he got arraigned. So here's what actually happened. In 2023, there was a investigation of Officer Bobb by both the sheriff's office and Milford police. I'm not Milford, Miami Township Police, and he got nothing happened. Nothing happened, and so I don't even know why. But all of a sudden now he's arrested and he's been arraigned. But the real question is why wasn't he arrested in 2023? I'm not aware of any notable new evidence against this guy, but he's arrested right now for tampering with evidence and for violating a protection order. I think there maybe could be more forthcoming in this. Bill Rapp is his attorney. He's a party insider in Clermont County on the GOP. So I just don't understand how this could happen. And one of the things that's about it is in the Miami Township report, it says in the report that they had 254 inappropriate text messages between ostensibly Officer Bobb and a student. And it's going to it'll probably come up on the screen while we're watching this, while I'm talking. And so they sent these to the prosecutor's office, Mark Tacaldi, and Lara Barron, whose money's worth more than integrity because she wants to be the next prosecutor. And they put it, and it got basically, it looks to me like it got whitewashed. They had 254, here it is, 257 text messages that I believe were inappropriate. This is the Miami Township Police talking to Larry Barron and Mark Tacaldi, and then nothing happened, and now all of a sudden he's arrested. This is unfortunately too common a behavior from our prosecutor's office that people get it's just selective, and certain kind of behaviors, I guess it's okay. Like, hey, it's okay. It's good as long as they love each other. So it's just crazy to me that, real questions need to get asked. There was an article claim submitted by the sheriff's office that looked like it was written to the Sun, that looked like it was written by the same people that do the prosecutor office articles submitted to the Sun. Never addresses any of this because it's not real journalism. Chris Stratton should have a press release explaining why this guy wasn't arrested in 2023. What happened was they actually appear to have covered it up in 2023, let the guy retire with a pension, and he had relocated to Tennessee. So then they picked him up from Tennessee. And so that's just kind of the way, it's just bad. It's just wrong. By the way, Jenny Berkeley, who was the HR person at Milford Exempted Village School District, now is at West Clermont. Her fingerprints are all over both the Tony brothers and the Officer Bobb, Andrew Bobb deal. And the biggest thing that should scare everybody about it is these schools have a duty to report these things to law enforcement. And as far as I can tell, Jenny Berkeley never reported either of these. Maybe she reported the Officer Bobb thing, okay? But she didn't the Tony Brothers one. And I don't know what the deal is with the Officer Bobb, but it looks to me like, once again, the school district, it looked to me when I read the reports, heavily redacted reports, that a parent is who went to the police and the Officer Bobb thing, not the school district. So Milford Exempted Village School District, I would be very careful with a daughter at that school district, because, and I would be worried about what West Clermont, because now the culture that could have existed at Milford Exempted Village School District is now the person was the head of HR for Milford is now at West Clermont, okay, and won't take any questions, won't answer any questions. Jeannie Berkeley should be wanting to answer questions about why she didn't go to the authorities when these things came to light to her, and why she looks to me like she covered them up. Okay. So we're getting almost out to the end. I'm going to throw up here this court action. So there's a couple things I did stories on. My Clermont County Republican Central Committee appeal. I got suspended in a deal there because Hey, I tell you what, it makes you not very popular when you're involved in multiple elected officials getting exposed, kicked out of office, caught in a park in sexual activity with a subordinate. Those aren't real popular. Caught involved in Larry Householder bribe scheme stuff. That makes me very unpopular because I'm actually a real conservative and a real Trumper. And so that there's a case involving the Clermont County Republican Central Committee that an appeal got filed. Aaron Haslam in Adams County, who has the sham address, there's a new filing. So the Supreme Court had a decision, if you paid attention to this, that basically said I fucked up because I didn't request them to remand it for a hearing at the Board of Elections. So I immediately, the Supreme Court issued their opinion 33 days before the election, and there's a cutoff of 30 days before the election for a challenge to one's voter registration. So I got a new challenge filed yesterday, 32 days before the election, and there is a hearing at the Adams County Board of Elections on, not a hearing, there's a meeting on Monday at 3:30. The biggest thing here is Aaron Haslam it appears that the Board of Elections at Adams County views its job as protecting insiders, not getting to the truth. It's absolutely disgusting. It is disgusting. And so they keep trying to avoid having a hearing because as soon as they have a hearing, they know the jig will be up on Aaron Haslam's fake apartment there. And, maybe I'll put on some good big song and dance, but the guy doesn't really live in Adams County and he shouldn't be a voter in Adams County. He lives in Indian Hill with his wife and kids. Okay. And then the third thing I have up here is the Rudd email case. So the Rudd email case is where there's a conspiracy involving 10 elected officials in Clermont County to not produce public records to me for purposes of reporting. So we're right on a big First Amendment thing, guys, right over the target on the First Amendment. And so they won't, these people, I'd ask these 10 elected officials to give me a summary every week of, what are 5 accomplishments he had during the week. They all, in a conspiracy, refused. So then I started requesting emails, which you can do, so that I could build their accomplishment list based on their own emails. And then Brian Shrive, the person who somehow became the head of the civil division in Clermont County Prosecutor's Office with absolutely no prosecutor's office experience whatsoever, has gotten these guys in a conspiracy to deny me statutory rights to these records. And it's disgusting. And it should particularly be, what's so funny is what's so bad about it is it's so sad. I expect a lot of these elected officials to be compromised. The one that I had hoped for is Chris Stratton, the sheriff, but he's just as compromised. He's just as compromised as part of the conspiracy. And I got to believe he knows it's wrong or something really happened to him. He's not the man that I knew, okay, in terms of kind of like Mark DeColvey. He's not the man. People say, Sheriff Leahy told me of Mark DeColvey that he thought he was different from his father, but it turned out it wasn't true. And Mark DeColvey's dad was a bad attorney that was constantly in legal trouble and suspended. And Chris Stratton, I thought he would be a breath of fresh air to confront some of these things and show what a transparent, effective office, but he isn't. So he is compromised by these guys. All right, so those were the court actions. Now we're going to go the dumbest Clermont Sun story of the week. And let's go look at the dumbest. I'm going to put this Clermont Sun up here in a second. If I get to the right page. And I'm just going to start with the very top story. It's almost like you can't pick one dumb story. So the number one news story in all of Clermont County is this weekly construction update where they reprint what construction's going on every week. And they never have this. This is this should be an inside the paper thing with a little map with a legend, 1, 2, 3, 4 of road projects. But they make this list. That's how pathetic this is. This paper is. They have a weekly updates. Now there is a thing here about a deer, but after this front page, look at this. Because I just can't. Clermont Health Commissioner Statewide Board submitted by Clermont County Public Health. New Richmond VFW submitted by New Richmond VFW. Okay, let's keep going. Jungle Gyms submitted by Jungle Gyms. Okay, you just keep going down here. this paper has no original content. And then these things, then I guess Meg and Allie picks these. They're not local little editorials and columns, and it just is pathetic. It is just absolutely embarrassingly pathetic, except for the sports section that Jake Dowling does. That is always a quality piece of work, but it's just so sad. So my news reporting is 10x. Yeah. By the way, we're still waiting for the Clermont Sun to have anything on the election other than telling. They had 2 times a front page story was, if you're a candidate, you can submit something for us to print for you about the election. That's the top news in Clermont County. It's just so pathetic. I'm glad I'm not having to torture myself for a half hour going through it. And then what's coming up this next week? So the Adams County Board of Elections meeting is one. The Tony Brothers interview is another. And I'm sure there'll be a ton of other stuff. I have a lot of content. I was in Adams County yesterday, and I have a lot of Adams County content I got to process and put out on a variety of things in Adams County. So that's kind of the key things that I wanted to cover. Now I'm going to see if there's any chat messages. The only chat message was somebody saying, and probably talking about the Jim Rudy, is that video was shocking. It was shocking. And what's more shocking, Jim Rudy is that way because of some sort of mental illness, okay, that he needs help for and should get help for. Hopefully he's getting the right help that he needs, okay? He should not be involved with a school board or kids. What's actually more shocking than that video is that other people in authority are obviously covering up for him. Think about that. Other people in authority are hiding this from the citizens. They are covering up for him. How would you react if your kid went to some school board meeting, hanging out with Jim Rudy for the photo op, when you read the things about the dead animal carcasses that he couldn't find and his place being full of flies and maggots? So think about that. Full of flies and maggots. You don't get close to him. Okay, he might have head lice, flies, and maggots on him. I truly hope that the guy's getting the help that he needs. Nothing against you. The thing is, has the mental illness, so he needs to get help. Okay. The bigger issue is that people in authority that supposedly don't have mental illness are covering up for him. I want you to think about how disgusting that is. Those are the people, they're actually worse than Jim Rudy. Think about that. The people that are not mentally ill or claim not to be mentally ill, that are covering things up for Jim Rudy, are worse than Jim Rudy. All right. Thank you for joining me today for this. How did I do on time here? 35 minutes, 33 minutes if I take out the first 2. Hopefully that's a good little recap. I will put all the links to the things that I talked about in the notes section of these posts.